everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Moyo. How you guys doing? I hope you missed me. It's been about a week. Yeah, so I'm trying to keep to my promise, and I'm going to be like posting a lot more. Hopefully I'm going to be posting a lot more. You know, this social isolation thing has given me like a lot of time, so hopefully like before like the whole thing is over I get used to it. So hi, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for always like watching, even though I only have like 2 videos up, but thank you guys. So how is social isolation treating you guys? I mean, it's treating me fairly well. I'm getting used to my yoga, although I'm sore. I had a session yesterday, and I don't know, my right shoulder has been sore since. Even though I didn't do much, so I don't know what's up. Anyway, moving on to today's topic. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about grief. It's not really a happy topic, but I feel like it's something that we don't talk about a lot because nobody wants the difficult part of friendship or whatnot. So we don't really get to talk about like grief or the grieving process or the process to deal with loss. So I thought that I will talk about that today on the channel. In case I sound off or I look off throughout this video, I just want you guys to know that it's a very difficult topic for me. I don't really talk about it. I'm not a sharer, and this is like a really big step for me. I don't share, especially on social media, so this is very difficult, which is probably why I might look off or sound nervous. It's just me trying to hold back emotions. So that's my disclaimer. So right before I start my discussion, I thought that I will let you know. You guys know about, like, you guys remember my 6 month, 8 month leave of like YouTube. Not like I'm a serious person, but I lost my mother, so that's another reason why I'm doing this. My mom died on the 23rd of October 2019, it was Friday. So yeah, I haven't really talked about it much, and I thought that this might be like a good way to break the news, because I did put it up on social media. And apart from that, it's just I've always wanted to talk about grief, especially because it's like very close to home. And of course, as I said before, like we don't like talk about it a lot. So I thought that I would do one episode for the grief process. So here goes. But before I start, I mean, of course, I'd like to talk about my mom. I'm not going to say much. She was strict. She was strict, and she had the prettiest smile. I think she had the prettiest smile. She had really great dentition, and she would always let us know that my teeth better than yours. She was very funny, she was very lively, very loyal, very strict, very mommy-like, to be honest. But I think that my friends who met her, they really liked her, basically. I'm not going to talk about much because I mean I don't want to get emotional on while shooting, right? Because it will mean that I'll have to cut a lot. So I'm just going to touch. She was really nice, she was very loving, she was very caring. My mom was really caring, she was very loyal, she was very supportive, and she loved my dad a lot. They could go at it, they could fight. She knows how to get angry, not just at my dad, everybody. She will tell you, I will leave you alone and I will not call you, I'll do this, I'll do that. And she will still find herself, doing what she said she won't do. The correct definition of a mother, yeah, that was what she was. And more than just being a mother, she was a lot of things to a lot of people. She was a sister, she was, a friend, she was an advisor. She was a full package. She was everything. She's my mom. I cannot be, Anyway, she was amazing, and her death came as a shock to me, to everybody because it was unexpected, but still we moved. So she died on the 23rd, she was buried on the 24th, you know, and it's been 6 months, 7 months after, and it's not been easy, but there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing anybody can do about it. We just have to like move on and try to like hold the fort while she's not around, and hopefully we're all making her proud, you know, wherever she is. So I'm going to be, throughout this discussion, I'm going to be trying my best to compare as much as I can, use myself as an example, and you know, compare things, compare and contrast. I mean, I'm going to be giving you the textbook definition of most of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So I will also be telling you how I'm applying them to, you know, real life situation, because you know, I'm grieving, or you get me. So what is grief? Grief is a natural response. It's the only response that you have to the loss of something or someone. There are different kinds of losses. It doesn't just have to be like the loss of a person. It can be the loss of a pet, it can be the loss of a job, it can be the loss of an object, it can be declining health, it can be anything. It can be death, as in basic, not death. It can be basic, it can be poor economic situation. Basically, it's your reaction, it's the way you react to whatever life throws at you in that moment, depending on the significance of loss, right? So that is what grief is. Grief is just like a natural subjective reaction to loss. So signs and symptoms of grief, like what do you see when you think a person is grieving? Shock, disbelief, fear, anger, sadness. You know, a lot of crying will probably take place, and some people might not cry. Weight loss, weight gain. There are different like reactions to like grief, you know. It's like there's a wide spectrum. There's no, but those are like some of the classic signs we see: fear, guilt, a lot of crying, anger, etc., etc. So now, before I move on to like the things I want to discuss, I'm going to tell you about the 5 stages of grief by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Dr. Elizabeth did the research and creation of the 5 stages of grief based on using patients facing terminal illness. It was supposed to be for patients facing terminal illness to see how they accepted their situations, but now we use it for like a lot of like other things. So the 5 stages of grief, we have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I think I said those too fast. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So denial, basically disbelief. You don't believe that this could be happening to you, so denial. Anger, you're angry, like why is this happening to me? Why me at this time of all times? Bargaining, you go like, if this doesn't happen, if this is not true, if this can clear off, I will praise God forever. For example, after a night of drunkenness and you're hungover the next day, and you say stuff like, if I get better, if this thing should just stop, if this headaches will stop, I will never drink again. That's bargaining. Then we have depression, when you're sad and down about everything and you're just really wondering why, and you're uninterested in like life generally because of what has happened. And then lastly, we have acceptance, when you realize that there's nothing you can possibly do to change whatever it is that's happened, and so you accept your fate. So the 5 stages, ideally you're supposed to move from stage 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5, but we found that over like a wide range of people do not go through the same, they don't go through the 5 stages of grief linearly. That is, not everybody goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some people go from 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. Some people go from 1, 4, 5 and they're fine. Some people go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then they have to go back to 1 and like they're not okay because maybe they ended a stage prematurely. They did not finish it. They did not give themselves time, or they were not adequately given time to process. So they jumped from one stage prematurely to another, which is why you might see prolonged grief. If we were to check 10 people who have just faced loss, let's give them the same situation, loss of an individual, they all will not go through the 5 stages of grief in the same pattern or like the same direction. They all will not go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some people will go from 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 and they are good. Acceptance is the last stage. Acceptance has to happen for everybody, to everybody, but it doesn't mean that the stage before acceptance is depression. Some people go from bargaining to acceptance. When they see that all else has failed and they try to bargain and it's not working out, they accept their fate. Some people go from denial to depression, then anger. You know, you hear the news, you're shocked, you don't believe that this could be happening. Then you go, you get all depressed when you realize, and then you get angry. So that's from stage 1 to stage 4 back to 2. This just literally means that not every individual goes through the 5 stages of grief linearly. So I would like to remind you guys, or state again, that we need to keep in mind that the process of grieving differs across all individuals. Now, keeping that in mind, I would like to state a couple of factors that I think that grief is dependent on. The first one is support system, availability of a great support system. It just makes things easier. The early days, the first few days, it makes things way easier. Like, I had my friends available for me when my mom died, and I didn't have to ask them. Everybody just, came around to make things easier for me. They helped me with the cooking, they helped me to keep an eye on my dad, and it helped me have like people to talk to in the very early days when I still wanted to talk, because I was talking a lot. It helped me to hold off on the crying. It helped me to keep my head in the game, and to be able to appear strong for my dad and not break down. Yeah, because I didn't fully break down until like 40 days after. So I think that I did a great job, taking care of my dad, because my brothers are not really available. So my support system was really good. My aunties were around, my friends were around. I had great people around me. So having like a great support system available will help you in the very early days. The next one is personality type. I don't know how to like explain this adequately, but I'm going to like talk about myself. So I heard my mom died at night, and the next day was a Saturday. I had to go home, to wait for her. And by Sunday, I was tweeting and, I was acting like nothing happened. Don't get me wrong, I was unhappy. I was severely unhappy. But I've realized that when I'm extremely down and out, it's easier for me to just focus on the good side of life. I just focus on things that make me laugh, because if not, I feel like I would lose it if I don't like focus on something. So personality type really like matters. If you're the kind of person who keeps to yourself a lot, it might not be very easy for you to deal with the grieving process. It might easily or quickly lead to depression. But for someone like me, it was very easy for me to just try my best to focus on like things that just made me laugh. My TL on Twitter was just all about like jokes, because I felt like if I should just do any other thing, I would lose my shit. Excuse that word. The next thing I think is life experiences. The kind of experiences that life has dealt you, it shapes us in different ways. So you're either extremely strong or you're extremely weak. So your life experiences would determine how you're going to deal with whatever blow life deals with you. Another thing that I think matters is coping mechanism. What kind of coping mechanism do you have? Are you the type of person to cope, or are you the type of person that just keeps quiet and bottles everything in? Bottling in doesn't help anybody. The very first thing I feel like is really important is acknowledging your pain, identifying your pain, that yes, this thing hurt me. That's always like the first thing to tackling a problem. Identify the fact that there's a problem, and then you can adequately find a solution for that problem. So coping mechanisms really matter, especially if they are good coping mechanisms. The last and one of the most important ones, I think, is significance of loss, right? To me, I lost my mom. To some other people, they lost their friend. Another person lost their sister. Another person, my dad lost his wife. So significance of loss really matters. It really matters, because it might depend. It will determine how you're going to, react, and possibly the length of time that will be needed for grief. And one key factor that is very, very important to note and to remember is time. time is very important, and all the other factors I mentioned above, significance of loss, availability of support system, all of them will still build up and depend on time, because grieving takes time, and that time differs for everybody. Like, nobody grieves really, like no 10 people will grieve in the same pattern for the same time. So time is extremely important. Next up is myths about grieving, or untruths, basically. So the first thing that I will be taking is the pain will go away if you ignore it. Pain doesn't go away if you ignore it. It's not headache, especially emotional pain. It doesn't just disappear because you want to pretend like it didn't happen. The person died, you lost that job, you lost the baby. Deal with it, identify it, acknowledge that this thing happened, and try to work towards feeling better about it, or feeling better about life. Pain doesn't just disappear just because we choose to act like nothing happened. The next thing I'm going to be picking on is you have to be strong. Now, when my mom died, that was like basically the only thing I heard. You have to be strong for your dad, you have to take care of your dad. What about me? There was nobody being strong for me. I mean, my dad was trying his best, to not break down and all. But my point is that you don't have to be strong. It's okay to not be strong. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry, basically. I didn't cry. Okay, I heard my mom died, and I cried that night, and I stopped crying. I slept. I cried a little bit in the morning, and then I met my friends. My friends came to the house to see me in the morning after I told them, and basically I didn't cry again until like 40. A couple of days later, I cried. I really broke down, but I didn't cry. I mean, I kept feeling guilty that I did not mourn my mom, because after a while I just lost all ability to cry, and it was just wake up, be strong, attend to the visitors, talk to my friends, appear strong still, take care of my dad, go back to bed. Same thing, same cycle every day. And so the first nights that I stayed in my house alone, because I had to come back to my place to run a course. And so the first time I came back to my house, the first night I couldn't sleep. I literally cried all night. It was bad. I couldn't sleep at all. And before that time, I was already really guilty, and I felt like maybe I didn't mourn her properly. Maybe I didn't cry enough. It just seemed like there was nothing I could do right, and I was a bad child because I didn't cry when my mom died, and it was all because I kept hearing, you have to be strong, you have to be strong, and there was nothing more to do than to be strong. So basically my point is, it's okay to be strong in face of, while facing something that really hurts you. But let's not forget that there's also strength in showing emotions, right? So it's okay to cry. So the next myth that I have is you have to cry. It is extremely important to cry. Most people do not cry. Not everybody deals with loss by crying. And when you don't cry, you hear people call you heartless, has no heart, or something like that. As I said, we all deal with loss differently. Some people cry, some people just recede in their shell. For someone like me, I just find things that make me laugh in the moment, that just make me not think about whatever is going on. Before now, my best mechanism used to be sleeping, because I used to believe that if I sleep in my head, I'm a princess, I can do anything, I have everything I want in life. So if I just sleep, all my problems go away. So crying is not the only response to losing something or losing someone. So the next myth I'm going to be talking about is put your life on hold. It's going to show the significance of loss, or how great the loss was to you. Now my example for this one is, after 4 weeks, I was going to come to my place because I had to run a course, and my father's house is too far, and I told my dad I was leaving. The first thing, some people were like, Ada, why am I leaving? What am I going to do in my house? And my dad was like, she has to live her life, she can't be here forever, she has a place she's staying, she has to go, you can't keep her here. I've lived my life, it's time for her to live hers. That's one. Two, after about 4 weeks, my dad wanted to, start going to work, just to leave the house. Because at that point, to be honest, I was frustrated. People were always in the house at all times, like from morning straight till night. And I was frustrated, to be honest, because I just felt like nobody gave us time to deal with the loss. Like everybody was always there. Like there was no lag time. So my dad had made mention that he wanted to start going to work for a little bit, like for a couple of hours, just so he could leave the house, which I was in support of, because people kept coming to the house and they kept asking what happened and having to tell the story over and over and over. It was just ridiculous, right? So my dad mentioned it, I think, and then all of a sudden, later in the evening, he received a phone call from a lady, and the woman was like, that could he pay 40 days, sorry, it's not like up to 40 days that your wife died. Don't leave the house, you are supposed to stay indoor. And I was irritated because, one, people never mind their business. My dad now had to explain to her that my wife married me, like she knew how I was when she was alive. I don't sit in one position for so long, and to be honest, it was already getting cabin fever. I had cabin fever. I had been in the house. I wasn't leaving the house. I was not allowed to walk my friends to the door. I was only allowed to walk my friends to the door. I was not allowed to go outside to take fresh air. So it was really ridiculous because I was mourning, right? So he had to tell the woman that his wife knew how it was before she died. So he won't stop. Like he will not just stay in the house. Like he's losing it. That he has to like step out. So my point is, you don't have to stop living. You don't have to keep your life on hold just to show that, the loss that I had, the loss I suffered was really great. The person that died, she was heaven and earth to me. I feel like it's ridiculous and it's an archaic notion. The next one is, another myth is that you have to go through the 5 stages of grief. I've already tackled that above previously. You don't have to go through the 5 stages of grief. Not everybody goes through the 5 stages. I'm not going to waste time talking about it. Not everybody goes through like all 5 stages of grief. It differs across everybody. The next myth I have is that grief has an end. To be honest, I don't think it has an end. Although I'm still like early in my grieving process, but it's just been 6 to 7 months for me, and to be honest, I don't think it has an end. I think that it's something that is always going to show face or show up whenever you're not expecting it, or it doesn't always have to be bad. It can be good, and it could be bad, right? So it doesn't have an end. There will just be some days that you remember the loss you had, and you just want to break down, and on other days you just remember the person and the person is not around and you smile. There are different ways of grieving, but to be honest, I don't think it has an end. It doesn't. You stop bleeding, the wound closes, but it doesn't exactly heal. It will scar over, right? The next one is talking about the person you lost. Talking about your loss, posting pictures means that you're stuck, or crying when you talk about the person that you've lost means that you're stuck. To be honest, I don't think it is. It is true, because I think that everybody goes through grief differently. I might cry, you might not cry. I might not post pictures. I'm not much of a poster, to be honest, and individual B might post a lot of pictures, a lot of poem, might put it everywhere on social media. It doesn't mean that he is stuck and I'm not. We all deal with grief differently. That's like the key thing to just keep in mind. We deal with grief differently. Then the last one is that everybody follows a similar pattern. Nobody follows a similar pattern. Because Lagbaja cried and stopped living for 6 months because he lost our mother does not mean that the loss of my own mother is less painful to me. It's not similar. Like, everybody goes through it differently, and we don't have to judge the person's way of going through grief by or compare with another person just to say, this person grieves better than that person. I think that is a very archaic notion, and it doesn't cut it. It's not true. So now I'm going to be going on to talk about the different ways or the process that I think that you may deal with grief. To be honest, there's no cut and dry way. There's no manual to tell you this is how you're going to feel when you're grieving. I'm just going to be mentioning like a couple of things that I feel like might be universal across all individuals. The first thing that you do when you go through loss is to acknowledge your pain, acknowledge the loss. It doesn't help anybody if you bottle things inside and you pretend like this thing didn't happen. So acknowledging it will help you be able to identify, which is the next step, identify your grief process. If you acknowledge that, okay, this is what has happened. Now that this has happened, what do I want to do next? It will help you identify and understand your grieving process. The next thing that I think that is important in dealing with grief is to accept help. Seek or accept help. You might want to join like support groups, and in as much as there might not be a lot of support groups in Nigeria, or it might be difficult locating one, accept help from your friends. If they call you and they want to talk to you or check up on you, I think it's very important that you accept it. I don't know how I would have survived if my friends didn't come around to the house to help me, to stay with me, to help me, to make me laugh, to talk to my dad. It was a really difficult time. So it's quite important that you accept help, because I realized that I basically rejected help at first. When my mom died and I found out, and everybody wanted to come, my friends, I called a couple of people and they wanted to come, I kept telling people no, like don't worry. And some of my friends had to like really take the hard hand with me and tell me, I don't care what you say, I'm coming. And I realized that it made me feel better, because the reason why I had said no was because I thought that if they came around I would be crying a lot. But actually it helped me, because I was just joking around and talking about everything apart from the fact that my mother died, which some people might see as suppression. But to be honest, in that moment, that was all I wanted to do. I just wanted to laugh and try to look on the bright side of life. The next thing is taking care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself, and if you cannot take care of yourself, move back to the previous step I gave, which was accept help or seek help. The next thing will be express your feelings or like your emotions in a creative way. Write poems, draw. For me, I keep a journal. So because I feel like I didn't grieve immediately, or I did not show emotions immediately, it took a while, and I had like a lot of thoughts in my head. There was a lot of anger, there was a lot of sadness. I might have had like a stint or two of depression, but I realized later, one night I was really unhappy, and I just got up and I picked up a book and I made it into a journal, and I just wrote my emotions. So that's the way I express whatever I'm feeling in the moment, and I don't bottle things up. So I just write to my mom and I pen it like a letter. So anything I'm feeling, I don't mince words. I do not find another word for something I'm thinking. I write it as it is, and to be honest, it helps me. It helps me not keep things bottled. It helps me to sleep better at night, especially on days when I feel like my life is over and I'm really sad about it. It really helps. So expressing your emotions or how you feel in a creative way might actually help. Another thing that may help will be maintaining like hobbies, the things that you like to do. It helps to keep you sane, it helps to keep you grounded, and it might give you a little bit of joy during the dark times. So what I maintained during my time was Twitter, and listening to music a lot. I listened to music a lot, and I was just on Twitter, reading the funny tweets, because I'm on funny Twitter, I'm not on serious Twitter. So reading the funny tweets, and it helps to keep me grounded. It made me feel like I was still on earth. It made me feel like I was in touch with everybody, and it made me feel like my life wasn't going down in shambles, because that was how it was at that moment. Like I was lost, I was in shock. So it made me feel like I was still human, right? I don't know how to explain that, but that was just, it made me feel grounded, and it made me feel alive. I wasn't really keeping tabs on anything. I was just there for the funny tweets, for the memes and all that. Last but not least, I think that it's very important to have insight. Insight is a mental health term for when a patient understands and admits that he has a problem. Okay, so I don't want you guys to mix it up with acknowledging your pain. I mean, when I say have insight, I mean insight as far be able to identify when you're grieving wrongly, or it's not just grief anymore, it's now depression. Of course, when you go through like a loss, everybody goes through a stint of depression, like 1 or 2, but it's not something that should be overstretched or that should go on for like a very long time. You will go through depression. It's in the 5 stages of grief, but it should lift after a while. So even if you want to lie to everybody, I don't think that it's right for you to lie to yourself. Identify when you see that your mental health is not good and look for someone to talk to. Seek help. Join a support group. I know that in Nigeria, the only one I know is Money, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative. So you could reach out to them and ask for help. Talking to someone during the grieving process is actually always very good, and it helps you with your grieving, like the process of grieving. It helps to make it easier, it lightens the load, and it's also very important because it might actually help you to identify your problem and put a pin on what the problem is early enough for it to be solved before it becomes serious. Now, what are the signs of depression, you may ask? Basically, the signs of depression when you lose someone or something is the same, mostly the same as the signs and symptoms you find for grief. It's just that for depression, everything is doubled, it's severe, it's on the serious side. There's intense crying, there's intense fear, there's intense guilt, there's intense sadness, there's lack of interest in everything, lack of interest in food, lack of interest in life, lack of interest in sex. Basically, the major physiological needs that we have. There's lack of interest in everything. There's a thought that you should have been the one to die in place of the person who died. There's the thought of committing suicide, and also that's when you start having these feelings. I feel like it's best for you to admit to yourself, even if you might not be able to admit to your friends or your family that you're depressed, and then seek out help. Join support groups if there are any. Talk to people. It will really help in the long run. So that's basically all I have for you guys, to be honest. I just thought that I should talk about this, that it would lift the load off my chest. I think it has. How am I doing post that death? I think I'm doing okay. It's not been easy. I don't always have good days, but I think that my good days are a lot more than my bad days. I think that my dad is doing well. Everybody is basically taking it one at a time because there's nothing that we can do about it. And to be honest, I think that she would want me to be happy. She would want us to be fine. So we're all doing our best, to keep our heads out of the water and to just hang in there. So I feel better after having shot this, episode, and I hope that this will help somebody out there. Please don't be too afraid to talk to someone. It always helps. So till next time, bye guys.